Listen closely, my friends. There are moments in life when the people around you can encourage you, comfort you, advise you, and even love you deeply, but they still cannot face certain things for you. There will be a silence you must learn to sit with, a failure you must learn to understand, a loss you must learn to carry, a fear you must learn to walk through, an opinion you must learn to stop chasing, a decision you must ultimately make yourself, a future you cannot control, a mortality you cannot escape, and finally, the person you are slowly becoming. These are 9 things every human being must eventually face alone. And the strange thing is this: most people spend their lives trying to avoid them. They fill silence with noise. They cover failure with excuses. They run from grief. They ask others to make their decisions. They spend years worrying about what people think. They try to control tomorrow. And they postpone thinking about the one certainty that waits for all of us. But the ancient Stoics saw these experiences differently. Marcus Aurelius did not believe that a strong person was someone who avoided difficulty. Seneca did not believe peace came from creating a life where nothing painful could happen. And Epictetus understood that true freedom begins when you stop demanding that the world become easier before you become stronger. So today, we are going through 9 things you must learn to face alone if you want to develop real inner strength. Not the kind of strength that looks impressive to other people. The kind that remains when nobody is watching. Stay with me until number 9, because the final one brings all the others together. And before we begin, if you appreciate practical Stoic wisdom that can help you become calmer, stronger, and more disciplined in modern life, consider subscribing. Now, let's begin. Number 1. You must face the silence of your own mind. There is a reason so many people are uncomfortable being alone. It is not always because they need company. Sometimes, they are afraid of what they will hear when everything becomes quiet. Turn off the television, put the phone down, stop scrolling, sit in a room with nothing demanding your attention. At first, it may feel peaceful, then the thoughts begin. The conversation you wish you had handled differently, the mistake you still regret, the person you miss, the decision you've been avoiding, the fear you have never admitted, the question about your future that you keep pushing away. And suddenly, 5 minutes of silence can feel longer than an entire afternoon surrounded by people. The Stoics understood this. They believed that a person must develop an inner life strong enough to withstand external noise. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, repeatedly returned to his own mind. He wrote privately. He examined himself. He reminded himself how quickly distractions disappear and how important it is to return to reason. You don't need to become a monk. You don't need to disappear from society. Start with 5 minutes. Sit quietly. No phone, no music, no television. Just you and your thoughts. Don't try to force them away. Observe them. Ask, what is my mind trying to tell me? That question can reveal more about your life than another hour of entertainment. Because strength begins when you stop being afraid of your own thoughts. And once you can sit comfortably in your own silence, you become much harder to control with noise. Number 2. You must face your failures without excuses. Failure hurts. There is no philosophical sentence that can completely remove that pain. You can lose money. You can lose a relationship. You can make a terrible decision. You can miss an opportunity. You can disappoint someone. And sometimes, you can disappoint yourself. The natural reaction is to explain, it wasn't really my fault. They didn't give me a chance. The timing was wrong. Someone else ruined it. Maybe those explanations contain some truth. But Stoicism asks a harder question. What part of this was mine? That question requires courage. Because when you're alone, you cannot hide behind somebody else's opinion. You have to look at what happened honestly. What did I control? What did I fail to control? What could I have done differently? What did this experience teach me? Seneca understood that adversity could become material for character. A difficult experience does not automatically make you wiser. You have to examine it. Imagine a carpenter making a table. The table comes out uneven. The carpenter doesn't spend the entire day blaming the wood. He studies the mistake. He adjusts his technique. He tries again. Your failures deserve the same treatment. Don't worship your failures. Don't be ashamed of them. Study them. Because a failure you honestly examine can become wisdom, but a failure you refuse to examine becomes a pattern. Tonight, if there is something you regret, write down 3 things. What happened? What was outside my control? What was within my control? Then ask one final question. What will I do differently next time? That is Stoic strength. Not pretending you never failed. Learning how to become better because you did. Number 3, you must face grief. This is one of the hardest truths. Other people can stand beside you when you grieve. They can hug you. They can listen. They can bring food. They can call you. They can remind you that you are loved. And all of that matters. But nobody can experience your exact grief for you. Nobody lost exactly what you lost. Nobody had exactly your memories. Nobody knew that person in precisely the way you did. Nobody carries the same empty space. That part belongs to you. The Stoics understood that everything we love is temporary, not because they wanted people to become cold, quite the opposite. They wanted people to appreciate what they had while they had it. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself of impermanence. The people we love are not possessions. The years we are given are not guaranteed. The ordinary morning we ignore today may someday become a memory we would give anything to experience again. This is why grief should not be rushed. You don't have to pretend you are fine. You don't have to hide every tear. And you don't have to turn Stoicism into emotional numbness. Stoicism is not about refusing to feel. It is about learning how to remain grounded while feeling. There is a difference. If you are grieving someone today, give yourself permission to acknowledge the loss. Sit with it. Remember them. Feel the sadness. Then slowly ask, what would this person want me to do with the life I still have? That question can transform grief from something that only destroys into something that eventually deepens you. Number 4, you must face your fear. Fear becomes powerful when you keep running from it. The longer you avoid something, the larger it becomes in your imagination. A conversation becomes terrifying because you've postponed it for 6 months. A new beginning becomes impossible because you've imagined every way it could fail. A decision becomes unbearable because you've spent years thinking about it without acting. Epictetus taught that people are disturbed not simply by events, but by the judgments they make about those events. Think about that. Sometimes the event itself is not as frightening as the story your mind has created around it. You lose a job. Your mind says, "My life is over." Someone rejects you. Your mind says, "Nobody will ever value me." You make a mistake. Your mind says, "I am a failure." But those are interpretations. They are not necessarily facts. So when fear appears, don't immediately obey it. Sit down, name the fear. What exactly am I afraid will happen? Then ask, is this within my control? If it is, take action. If it isn't, release your demand for certainty. This is where courage comes from, not from having no fear, from refusing to let fear make every decision for you. You don't need to defeat your fear all at once. Take one step, then another. The person who repeatedly takes small, courageous actions eventually becomes someone who trusts himself. And that trust is worth more than borrowed confidence. Number 5, you must face the opinions of other people. One of the greatest prisons a person can build is a life organized around other people's approval. Think about how much energy people spend asking, what will they think? Will they approve? Will they be disappointed? What if they judge me? What if they don't understand? And here is the uncomfortable truth. They may judge you anyway. You can be kind, and someone will call you weak. You can be successful, and someone will call you arrogant. You can be generous, and someone will question your motives. You can say no, and someone will become angry. You can say yes, and someone will still complain. You cannot control this. Epictetus built much of his philosophy around the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. Your choices are yours. Your judgments are yours. Your actions are yours. But another person's opinion, that belongs to them. This does not mean you should ignore criticism. A wise person listens. If someone points out a genuine weakness, learn from it. But don't confuse criticism with truth. And don't confuse popularity with virtue. Ask, is there something useful here? If yes, improve. If no, release it. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need everyone to understand your choices. And you certainly don't need permission to live according to your deepest values. The moment you stop trying to control everybody's opinion, you recover enormous amounts of energy, and you can finally use that energy to control what actually belongs to you, your character. Number 6. You must face difficult decisions yourself. There is a temptation to ask everybody else what we should do. We ask friends, we ask family, we search the internet, we listen to experts, we collect opinions until our minds are overflowing. And sometimes that is useful, but eventually the talking must stop. You must choose. A difficult decision cannot be outsourced. Other people can advise you. They cannot live the consequences for you. They can tell you which road they would take, but they are not living your life. They don't have your history. They don't carry your responsibilities. They don't know every value inside your heart. So listen, learn, consider, then decide. Marcus Aurelius had advisors. He had generals. He had philosophers. He had an entire empire around him. But ultimately, certain decisions belong to him. That is the burden of responsibility. And responsibility is inseparable from strength. When you face a difficult decision, try this. First ask, what do I value? Then, what is actually within my control? Then, what choice would I respect myself for making 5 years from now? Not, what choice makes everybody happy? Not, what choice avoids all discomfort? But what choice is consistent with the person I want to become? That question will not make every decision easy, but it will make your decisions clearer. Number 7. You must face your mortality. Now we reach the subject most people avoid, death. Nobody likes thinking about it. We distract ourselves. We stay busy. We act as though there will always be another year, another opportunity, another conversation, another morning. But there is no guarantee. The Stoics called this awareness memento mori. Remember that you will die. It sounds dark, but they believed it could actually make life more meaningful. Because when you remember that time is limited, you become more careful about how you spend it. You stop wasting entire days trying to impress people you don't even like. You stop postponing every meaningful conversation. You stop treating ordinary moments as worthless. You begin to notice the morning light, a meal, a walk, a conversation with someone you love, a quiet evening. These things become valuable precisely because they are temporary. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that fame disappears, power disappears, possessions disappear. Eventually, every human life ends. So what remains? The way you lived, the way you treated people, the choices you made, the character you developed. Ask yourself, if I knew I had less time than I think, what would I stop postponing? That question can be uncomfortable, but discomfort can be useful, because mortality has a way of exposing what truly matters. Number 8. You must face uncertainty. There is something humans desperately want, certainty. We want to know what happens next. Will the relationship work? Will the business succeed? Will our health remain strong? Will our children be okay? Will we have enough money? Will tomorrow be better? But life never gives us complete certainty. and trying to force certainty into an uncertain world creates anxiety. Epictetus understood this deeply. You can control your effort. You cannot guarantee the result. You can prepare. You cannot control every circumstance. You can act wisely. You cannot command the future to obey you. Think about an archer. The archer can practice. He can prepare his body. He can study the target. He can control his technique. But once the arrow leaves the bow, other forces can affect where it lands. Your life is similar. Your responsibility is to aim well, not to command the universe. So when uncertainty overwhelms you, divide the problem. Write 2 columns: what I can control, what I cannot control. Put your energy into the first column: your preparation, your habits, your decisions, your words, your effort, your response. Then stop spending your entire life trying to control the second. This does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming efficient with your mental energy. A Stoic does not say, "Nothing matters." A Stoic says, "I will give my best effort where my effort matters." That is a completely different philosophy. Number 9, you must face the person you are becoming. And now, the final one, the one that ties everything together. You must face yourself. Not the version of yourself you show other people, not the version you describe, not the version you hope to become someday, the person you are actually becoming through your daily choices. Because character is not created in one dramatic moment. It is created quietly. One decision, one habit, one reaction, one conversation, one morning, one evening, repeated thousands of times. Every time you choose discipline instead of comfort, you become someone slightly more disciplined. Every time you tell the truth when lying would be easier, you become more honest. Every time you control your temper, you become more composed. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-respect. And every time you surrender your principles simply because you are afraid of someone's opinion, you teach yourself that approval matters more than character. These small choices accumulate. Eventually, they become you. Epictetus understood that philosophy was not supposed to be something you merely discussed. It was supposed to change the person practicing it. Anyone can quote Marcus Aurelius. Anyone can post a Stoic sentence on social media. Anyone can talk about discipline. But what happens when nobody is watching? That is the real test. What do you do when there is no applause? What do you do when nobody will know? What do you do when doing the right thing costs you something? That is where character is built. So once a week, sit somewhere quiet. Take 20 minutes. Ask yourself, who am I becoming? Are my daily choices taking me toward the person I respect? What am I avoiding? What habit is quietly weakening me? What do I need to stop? What do I need to begin? And perhaps the most important question, if I continue living exactly as I am living now, where will I be 5 years from today? Don't answer quickly, sit with it, because the answer may reveal something you have been avoiding. The beautiful thing is that you are not trapped by your current version of yourself. You can change, not overnight, not through motivation alone, but through repeated choices. The Stoics did not promise that life would become easy. They offered something more valuable. They taught that you can become stronger than the circumstances you cannot control. Look back at the 9 things: silence, failure, grief, fear, the opinions of others, difficult decisions, mortality, uncertainty, and finally, your own character. Every one of them strips away something external, and eventually, you are left with yourself. That may sound frightening, but it can also be liberating. Because once you learn to trust yourself, you stop needing the world to constantly reassure you. You stop needing applause. You stop needing everyone to agree. You stop demanding certainty before taking action. You stop running from every uncomfortable emotion. You become steadier. That is what Stoic strength really means. It does not mean becoming emotionless. It does not mean becoming hard. It does not mean pretending that loss doesn't hurt. It means becoming capable of carrying difficulty without allowing difficulty to destroy your character. Marcus Aurelius faced war, disease, political pressure, personal loss, and uncertainty. Seneca experienced exile, political danger, wealth, power, and eventually death. Epictetus began life without the freedom most people take for granted, yet their teachings survived because they focused on something that remains relevant to every generation. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can work on the person who meets it. So if life has become quieter lately, don't automatically assume something is wrong. Maybe the quiet is giving you an opportunity to meet yourself. If you have experienced failure, don't assume the failure has defined you. Perhaps it is giving you material from which wisdom can be built. If you are grieving, don't be ashamed of the weight you carry. It proves that something mattered. If you are afraid, don't wait until fear disappears. Move with it. If someone misunderstands you, don't spend your entire life trying to control their opinion. Examine the criticism. Keep what is useful. Release what is not. If you face a difficult decision, listen to wise people, but remember that your life is ultimately yours to live. If mortality frightens you, let that awareness remind you to use today well. If uncertainty troubles you, return to what you can control. And if you are worried about who you are becoming, remember this: you are still making that person every day. Before you leave, I want you to do one thing. Tell me in the comments which of these 9 challenges speaks to you most right now. Is it silence, failure, grief, fear, the opinions of others, a difficult decision, mortality, uncertainty, or becoming the person you know you are capable of becoming? Your answer may seem small to you, but someone reading that comment may be going through the exact same struggle. And sometimes, knowing that another person is facing the same battle is enough to help us keep going. And if this message gave you something valuable today, consider subscribing. Here, we explore the practical wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and the Stoic tradition, not as ancient history, but as tools for the life you are living right now. Share this video with someone who may need to hear it, because sometimes helping someone does not mean carrying their burden for them. Sometimes it means giving them the strength to carry it themselves. Remember this: you will not control everything that happens in your life. You will not control what people think. You will not control every loss. You will not control every outcome. You will not control the passage of time. But you can control the person you bring into each moment, and that is where your strength begins. So when the room becomes quiet, stay. When failure arrives, learn. When grief comes, feel. When fear appears, walk forward. When others judge you, remain grounded. When a decision comes, choose with courage. When uncertainty surrounds you, return to what you control. And when you look in the mirror, make sure you recognize the person you are becoming. The Stoics understood something that remains true after 2,000 years. You do not become strong by escaping every difficult thing. You become strong by meeting difficult things again and again without abandoning yourself. So stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, the life you are building is being shaped by what you choose to do when nobody else can do it for you.